Hi, Dr. Mel again. We're going to carry on with vectors and scalars. And now we're going to look at more of the vectors in terms of when I've got two or three vectors or even scalars and what we're going to do with that. Just to refresh yourself again, what will the vector mean? It will mean a certain direction. So what happens if I've got a few vectors? And that will be the result. And remember, the result will be named the resultant. So let's have a look at the diagram I drew. I've got this block A and I'm pulling it towards the right with 10 newtons. A is now here. Let's call this the starting point, and that is point B. I'm pulling A further to the right with a force of 50 newtons. To the right, A is now here, and this is now point C. What is the accumulative effect? Well, I took A from point S to point C, and I used 10 newtons and 15 newtons, both of them to the right, so I can actually add them together. The resultant will thus be 15 plus the 10, which is 25 newtons to the right. So let's have a look at the formal definition of the word resultant. It is the single vector, the one vector, that will have the same effect as all the others, two or even more. And I used forces to explain the resultant. So it's one vector representing all of them. If it's in the same direction as we had in our previous one, we had 10 newtons to the right and 50 newtons to the right. I actually added them together. So if it's in the same direction, you just add and you'll find 25 newtons to the right. What happens if it's in opposite directions? I pull block A to this point C with 15 newtons. I took it from point C to point D with 5 newtons. Well, then you'll see the resultant will be from this point to that point with my arrowhead. That will be my resultant. And can you think what the value will be? Well, it's 15 in the plus direction and it's 5 in the minus direction. So 15 minus 5 will give me a value of 10 newtons. In which direction? Well, you're quite right. It is in the right direction. Just to recap, if it's in the same direction, I can add them together. If it's in an opposite direction, I'll subtract them from each other. Right, how do we represent vectors? With a tail or a head? Or we can add them with tails and tails. Remember, we drew a arrow and we said this is the starting point and the arrowhead will be the final destination. So I've got 10 newtons there. I've got another 10 newtons there. The resultant will thus be 20 newton to the right. And if I've got simultaneous vectors, I've got a box here B. I'm pulling it towards the right with a value of 10 newton to the right. Simultaneously, at the same time, I'm pulling B with a value of 2 newton to the left. What will my resultant force be? Well, it's 10 minus my 2, which will give me 8 newton. And to which direction will that be? Well, the 10 was the larger unit, so it will be 8 newtons to the right. Multiple vectors can be more than 2. So I've got 2 newtons and then 2 newtons again, and let's say 8 newtons there. All of them to the right, or you can say this is in the positive direction. So I can merely add them together to determine the resultant. Remember the result. So this will be 2 plus 2 plus 8, which will give me a value of 12 Newton to the right, or plus. What will happen if I pull the box back again with, let's say, let's make this 4 newtons to that side? Well, it's then 12 to that side. I'm pulling it back with 4. 12 minus 4 will be a resultant of 8. Please have a look at the sizes of the arrows. This one doesn't really represent 4 because it's smaller than the 8. Make sure that you do it in the same proportions as the values will be. I've got 3 friends pulling a rope to the left, so I know I'm busy with vectors. Each of them exerting a force of 10. So I've got this one with 10, this one with 10, and that one with 10. That gives me a value of 300. Where are they pulling to? The left. What will the resultant be? Well, you can add those 3 together and you will then see I've got 300 Newton pulling to the left or negative or west, whatever direction you want to use. Let's have a look at a simulation. We are going to look at a program which is called PhET, and you can go onto the internet and open the simulation and find a nice way of playing around and find the resultant. Let's have a look at these forces. They say the heading will be forces in motion, and today we're just going to have a look at the net forces. A very nice way of looking at forces. So I've got the blue man pulling that side, and do you see there? It's a 50 Newton to the left. If I have a 50 Newton to that side, remember how we found the resultant? The resultant will be 0, the sum of the forces, because it's 50 to the left and 50 to the right. Do you see any movement? It's not moving anywhere. Let's put another friend on that side. And can you now see we've got 2 50s pulling to the left and only 1 pulling to the right, with the sum being 50. And this program says to us the blue wins. Let's put a stronger friend on the right side. And now we've got 150 to that side and 100. Let's see if it's going to go. And now you can see the right force will win because there's 150 to the right, 100 to the left, and 50 Newton to the red. And it seems like they're going to win. That's a nice way of expressing and seeing what happens with these forces. So have a play, go onto the internet and see if you can find these forces. 3 friends are pulling the rope to the left, and we found the resultant. Remember, our resultant was 300 Newton, and important, to the left. We need to indicate the direction. 300 left and 300 right. What will the resultant be? Well, it's going to be 0 Newton because it's equal to the left and the right. Let's find another one. I've got 400 to the left and 300 to the right. Can you think what the resultant will be? Yes, it's 100. And how did you get to the 100? I said 400 minus 300 will give me 100 Newton. And because Newton is a vector, I need to indicate the direction. This one was the larger one, so it will be to the left. The result will be 100 Newton to the left. We can also work in vertical directions. I've got box A being pulled up with 10 Newton to that position, and pulled down with 2 newtons. So 10 newtons up and 2 newtons down will give me a resultant of 8 newtons up. Let me quickly explain. It was 10 newtons up minus 2 newtons down, which will give me a resultant of 8 newton. In which direction? In the larger direction, which means up. Up and down, vertical. Left and right, horizontal. What happens here? I've got this block and I'm pulling it at an angle of, let's say, 30 degrees with the horizontal x. Or you could have said 60 degrees from the vertical. Remember, we can use any angle as long as you mark the angle clearly and the teacher and the examiner can see what you are meaning. So what we have here is a vector, and let's say this is 10 newton in that direction. It is followed, so I've got the box there now. It is now pulled down, let's say with 12 newtons, and the angle will be different. I need to indicate now that that angle there is, let's say, 70 degrees. Or from the x-axis, that one is 20 degrees. Clearly indicate the angles. They need to see that you know exactly what you are doing. Let's find the angle of the resultant now. I started at this point, I ended at this point, and now I've got to find the value. Now, I'm not going to go into the finding of the resultant's values now. I just need to show you how we will determine the resultant, and you will be able to express it as an angle as well. We'll get to that just now. So have a look at the resultant. Can you see this is vector 1 followed by vector 2, and let's make that clearer. There we are. Vector 1 is going that way, and then vector 2 is going that way. And those two are represented, what's the definition? By one single force, which we call the resultant. The resultant is the starting point linked to the end point. Make sure that you know how to do this. We can also find more than two. I've got vector A. It's pulling that way. Can you see? We can indicate here that was the angle. It is then pulling from that side down to that way. And I've got the vector there. So I've got a vector there, and I've got a vector there. And CD is there. Do you see the three vectors? Where will I now find the resultant? Well, you link the starting point with the end point. I link that starting point with this end point, and I will try and get the values. You can calculate it by trigonometry, which we'll show to you just now. So, try always work with a graph paper, or very, very specifically, try and get your units. Remember, this is your x-axis, this is your y-axis. Remember that we indicated direction, and you will be okay. You will be able to calculate resultants. Let's say we've got a reference point there. I've got this fixed reference point here, and I now need to indicate where is B. So I'm going from A to B. Be very careful. In the next one, I'm going from B to A. You need to indicate with your arrow, I'm going back from A to B or from B to A. Please indicate that you know the difference between the two directions. Right, let's find the resultant from A to B. That's what I have now. So how am I going to find the resultant? Well, I know I've got a x value and I've got a y value. And if you measured, you would, in this case, see this side would be 40 meters to the right. Getting to that point, going up 30 meters to the north, and that is a similar figure that you've done in math. Beware, there is a right angle. Does that ring a bell? If you've got a right angle, you can use Pythagoras. And if I can use Pythagoras, I can find one of the sides if I've got the other two. So let's start with doing Pythagoras. I want the size of AB square. I do have AH square and I've got HB square. AH was the 40 meter, and remember the square. And HB is the 30 meter, and remember the square. In physics, you don't have to indicate the units whilst you are substituting, but right at the end, you'll have to have the unit. This is 1,600, and that is 900, and you'll probably do it with a calculator, and you'll find AB square, beware, as 25,000. You will then have to go and find the square root. Am I right? You'll have to find the square root of that AB. Let me just see. Yes, I've got that correct. So the square root of that will then be 50. And what was the unit? It was 50 meters. Well, you're not done yet. You need to find the angle. If I found that hypotenuse, am I right? And the opposite and the adjacent sides, I now have to find that angle. And you can use 3 different triangles, triangular equations to do that equation. You could use sine of the angle. You can use cos of the angle, or you can use tan. In each 3 of these, you will find the exact same answer. So sine will be the opposite over the hypotenuse, which will be the 30 over the one that you calculated 50. Cos will be the adjacent over the hypotenuse, which will be the 40 over the 50. Or you can use the opposite over the adjacent, which will be the 30 over the 40. And in all 3 cases, you will then find your angle to be 30,96 degrees. So have a few minutes to play around and find that angle as then 30,96 degrees. How will you now represent the resultant with a fixed reference point? I will say this is 50 meters from A to B. It's 50 meters, and the angle, well, you can say it is 30,96 degrees, either to the north from the east, or you can just indicate with your diagram that your angle is 30.96 degrees. Be careful that you remember this is a vector. You need the direction in there. Let's have a look at north and south. Well, the same answer will be, just now we found that to be, let's make that a 31 degree. Then this one will be 59 degrees. So I can say it is 50 meters at a bearing of 59 degrees, or you could say 50 meters and it's 59 degrees to the east from the north. So be careful that you've got a clear indication where it is so that a person can find exactly the same point. So with compass, you can always use north and east. In bearing, you will use the north clockwise and indicate the angle. Be careful that you always use the right bearing. So this bearing will be almost 60. We found it to be 59 degrees. Careful, accurate every time you work through something, have a look at your answer and say it makes sense. Let's quickly do one in another quadrant. So I've got this one here, and the bearing is 230 degrees. So if it's 180 to that point, you will work with that angle there. And clearly, you will have to be able to work with that triangle. So let us quickly recap. I'm not going to do this whole calculation again, but you'll have to see in which quadrant you are working so that you clearly and accurately work to find the resultant. We have to indicate the direction. It's a vector. We can choose the first direction as positive, and obviously if it's in the opposite as negative. This is the way we usually represent vectors. You have to find the way that works for you so that you know. In a case where we're working up and down, you can always say this is positive, and obviously downward will be negative. But choose your direction that you have the first movement in as positive. You will find when you get to momentum and all of those calculations that it's worthwhile to have a very, very good idea of positive and negative. So, what did we do in this lesson? We defined the resultant as the one vector representing all the others. We graphically illustrated how to determine the resultant, and we actually defined 3 methods to find the direction. And you can go back and say, I can work from the x-axis or from the y-axis, but this is actually the way we work in physics. I hope you really understood vectors and scalars and finding the result. Bye-bye.